Good morning and welcome to the Big Football Show. It is Sunday, the 14th of September. Hope you gentlemen are having a fine Sunday morning. We're going to do something different because this is a big deal last night. Good old Terrence Crawford, 37, becomes first male boxer to capture 3 unified division titles in defeating Canelo Alvarez by unanimous decision before a record crowd, might I add, of 70,482. If anybody caught that, I know Jack did. Jack's
Well, it's in the the Las Vegas Raiders home stadium. I assume the Raiders aren't playing there today. I mean, they're not playing there today. It would be a little hard to turn over, get the field ready. Right before I talk about the fight, I'm going to call a quick audible that I didn't tell you guys about before the show because I needed confirmation it happened. We got on the news that Ricky Hatton passed away. Now, Ricky Hatton, Hall of Fame boxer from the UK. I know he'd been troubled throughout his life with, certain different issues, that he wasn't always in a good place. We don't have details over the reason for his passing, but it just came up this morning. And he was an iconic boxer from England. Towards the end of his career, he might be a little more remembered for coming to the United States and getting stopped by Floyd Mayweather in a competitive fight and then getting stopped in 2 rounds by Manny Pacquiao. He made a brief comeback after without any real success, but he had a great career and, great fight. And like I said, iconic in the UK. The Crawford Canelo fight. I mean, a big event on Netflix. Dana White, the head of the UFC, is saying the way he's going to change boxing if he can, make it more marketable. You're not going to make it more marketable if you're starting your main event on the East Coast a few minutes before 1 in the evening. You're not going to make it more marketable that way. I mean, you're only going to get people that are going to stay up that late if it's a mega event. They'll stay up for a mega event. They're going to hate staying up that late. But if you're just going to put on very good fights, extremely good fights, people aren't going to stay up for them. It's got to be like the type of fight that you get once every 5-10 years, then maybe you get the people that'll stay up. But Terrence Crawford, had a brilliant game plan yesterday, boxed superbly, used his speed. And like I said beforehand, the strength issue and all this talk, Canelo's the bigger man, he'll be so much stronger. It didn't play out. When they won the inside, Crawford was just as strong as Canelo. He put on the weight natural, and Canelo's not a naturally big guy despite the weight. So I didn't think that was going to be so much of an issue coming in. Something about the judges. 2 judges had it 115. 1 judge had it 116, 112. In other words, 2 judges had it 7 rounds to 5. 1 had it 8 rounds to 4. I had it 8 rounds to 4, 116, 112. Some people are going to say, they looked at take it away from Crawford, this and that. I didn't have a big problem with the 115, 113, 7 rounds to 5 because Canelo actually nicked a couple of the early rounds, with his aggression, his body punching. And you kind of forget that once Crawford starts coming on. But great performance by Crawford, a very historic thing he did in the modern era. And you could start talking about Crawford with all-time greats right now. He joins the conversation, with the Sugar Ray Leonards and so on.
Anybody else see the fight?
Yeah, I saw it last night. Sorry, Keith. I thought you were going to go.
No, you're good. You're good.
I enjoyed the fight. It was just late. I had to get out of the recliner and go sit in the chair because I thought I was going to fall asleep throughout the fight. So yeah, but it was a great fight, man. Again, I agree with Jack. You got to put him with the greats because there was the no rehydration clause and everything else. I thought that might have an effect on the game. I mean, on the fight. Pardon me. And it did not. I mean, he moved around. He had a brilliant strategy. Again, I have to echo what Jack says. He was fast. He was very fast, and it seemed like he frustrated Canelo at times where he just couldn't keep up with him. Canelo landed some power shots, but he couldn't get a lot as he wanted. It just seemed like the footwork and the movement and everything. He just strategized and kept him at bay and landed combos here and there. And they were some really good shots as well. And like you said, Jack, he stood toe to toe with him, and the power was there for both sides. I think he withstood some of his power. And at the end, he said he's been hit harder by other people. But I don't know if that's the case or not true. But again, it was a pretty good fight.
Crawford being Crawford. Yeah, I enjoy the sentiments that you're saying, Jack, about the late fight, because I'm an older gentleman. I am not staying up. I barely stayed up to watch the rest of that fight. I was like James. I had to get myself into a position where I was uncomfortable sitting up so I could stay up and watch the rest of it. But yeah, I guess that's for more of the young people that want to stay up till 2:00 on a Saturday.
It caters for the young fans, boxing. That doesn't cater for people like myself anymore, the purists, the old timers, which is okay. I mean, I've moved on with the times. Don't misunderstand me. It's just what it is.
To be fully transparent, I could, after listening to all this, I could pretend I watched the fight and make some comments. But I was waiting for Jack. I was waiting for Jack's review because, as far as I know, I fell asleep and I won the fight last night. So, so I was hoping Jack would give a good recap.
Keith wanted to see it on replay. He was hoping we wouldn't mention it so he could watch it as if it was live.
I was wiped out after a 7-hour Miami Hurricane football game yesterday, for crying out loud.
Speaking of which, that goes into the segue of college football Saturday. James, let me tell you something, brother. I am definitely going to be listening to you. My ears are going to be perked up when you start saying, well, I think this team's going to beat this team. Because, dude, you were right about just about everything we were talking about. That Tennessee-Georgia game was squeaky. And I'm like,
Let's give Keith some segue. I mean, I know he's the college sport guru. Yeah, but let's let Keith go.
Oh, no, you can certainly go. That game was typical. That was typical Georgia, typical Tennessee. Georgia hangs around, finds a way to win games, and Tennessee can't close anybody out that's any good. They never close anybody out. That game, and I thought Josh Heupel did a horrible job at the end of regulation. I don't know what he's doing, run another play. I mean, maybe the 5 yards doesn't matter. But it just, again, now you've got a negative mindset, going into your field goal attempt. I feel bad for the kid because he didn't just miss it. He missed it by like the whole state of Tennessee. That was as bad a kick as I've seen in a while. And I feel bad for him. And Tennessee's got to win that football game. They get out. They've got their foot on Georgia's throat, and they can't put them away early. They let them hang around, and they would, again. There's no reason for Tennessee to lose that football game. I think and again, Rick, I'm sorry, Georgia wins, so they're the better team. I think Tennessee's got more talent than Georgia right now. I really do, but they cannot finish out games. Whether it's coaching, that comes down to coaching to me. But and I've always been a fan of Heupel, but not a good showing at the end of that game. I don't like the word choke. I really don't. I hate it.
Keith, can I ask
what happened, Keith?
They don't finish. Yes, Jack.
We're 3 weeks into the college football season, Keith. Which team would be the biggest, which score would be the biggest disappointment so far? Would it be Clemson? Would it be Notre Dame or someone else?
Those are 2 good choices early. Notre Dame could come back, run the table, and make the playoffs. So their season's not over. Clemson, same way, they can win the ACC and get in. K-State, Kansas State, to me, is the biggest disappointment. Not a huge, juicy name, but this team's they barely beat a FCS team here a couple of weeks ago, and they get beat by Army at home last week, and they get beat yesterday Thursday night by a bad Arizona team. K-State's probably the most disappointing team for me right now. Those other teams, yes. When you want to talk about more glamour programs, Clemson, I think I don't see how Clemson's winning the ACC, quite frankly, no matter what I just said. They're not beating Miami. They don't play Miami during the regular season. I think they got Florida State. I don't see them beating anybody any good in this conference right now, unless things improve a whole lot. That offense is not nearly as good as we thought it was. The defense is better, which they needed, but now the offense has gone to sleep. And that's not a good showing yesterday. Although Georgia Tech's a very underrated team. Brent Key's a really good coach. He's not going to be there much longer. So enjoy him, Georgia Tech fans, because he's going to get a bigger job soon. But I think they'd be my two big choices right now, Jack, couple weeks in.
Yeah, James, he said Georgia Tech will probably upset Clemson. He did say that.
Mm.
And that's number 12 Clemson for right now. They beat them 24-21. And the number 15 Tennessee Volunteers, as we were mentioned before, lost to Georgia Bulldogs 44-41 in OT. The Vols did jump on the Bulldogs early. It was 21-7 in the first quarter. But then 20 straight Georgia Bulldog points kind of made that a game. So
I gotta echo what Keith said though. You just can't you got to close out a game. You can't put the game into a kicker's hand that you're not sure if he's going to make it win or not. You got to win the game, and then they just let up. And Georgia, Kirby being smart, literally, and he figured it out on how to just come back and win. I mean, they got dogs. Literally, they have dogs there. I mean, man, where's all this pun coming from? They really have guys that are. They have guys that can play, but Tennessee was the better team. That's why I picked them. They just been dominant, but they're figuring out ways to lose games. I mean, that's big games like this. And they did it, like you said, Keith, at the end. This shouldn't make any sense at all. No. I really was disappointed with them because that's their way to get to the SEC championship. I mean, unless Georgia loses another game, it's over. That's it.
Well, they could make the playoff, but
right.
It's not a bad loss. It's not a horrible loss. They didn't get blown out at home, but the optics are not good, and that's where coaching matters. People don't think coaches matter. I guarantee you they do. Kirby Smart's team's not getting a 5-yard penalty before they are kicking the winning field goal. Guaranteed.
So we had two routes yesterday. Miami, number 5, as Keith was mentioning earlier. Routes number 18, South Florida. And let me tell you, this is why I'm bad at college. Because I had South Florida setting Miami. Oops.
Listen,
they got blew out 49-12.
I can imagine. I can see why you'd take that pick. I mean, they look good against Florida. Florida helped them win the game at the end last week with the bad penalty. Unsportsmanlike penalty, but still South Florida, Miami's really, really good. Carson Beck is healthy. They run the ball. That offensive line are a bunch of animals. They ran the ball at will almost yesterday, and then the backs are just carrying guys with them. Miami's good. They don't see Clemson, which maybe isn't such a big deal now, but they still got a rough road ahead of them. They got Florida and Florida State the next 2 weeks, so this is a huge stretch of games for Miami. And still, they haven't played. They won't play a league game until they play that Florida State game in 2 weeks. So, I've seen this Miami. I've seen this movie many times before with Miami. I just watched it last year. They got out 9-0 and looked like world beaters. But the defense is so much better right now. And again, I know the competition maybe not be there yet. South Florida's played well though on offense. They ran the ball well the last 2 weeks. They didn't run the ball all yesterday. And I like what I see so far.
And this is another one that J Train picked too. Vanderbilt absolutely demolished number 11 South Carolina. I don't know what was going on.
On the road. On the road.
No, it was at South Carolina on top of it.
That's what I meant. On the road, yeah. They won that game.
On the road, yeah. 31-7, yeah.
Wow. Coach Lee at Vanderbilt's very underrated. He's a really good coach. Again, if you go back and watch, Netflix has got an All or Nothing on the SEC season last year. Go watch it. It's really cool. He's featured a lot. These kids have probably run through the wall for this guy. And it's a good football team. They played well last year, and I don't think this is a fluke. So,
yeah, and then Alabama's next on their hit list. So we'll see. Alabama managed to destroy Wisconsin this weekend.
They beat Alabama last year too, so this is going to be an interesting game to watch next week for sure. Just a huge game for Steele and DeBoer next week.
And
I guarantee you, there are a lot of Alabama fans that are sitting in the stands with pink slips, ready to throw them onto the field if this happens.
Probably.
And those said Aggies, number 16 Texas A&M, scores a late touchdown and a go-ahead extra point because Notre Dame decided they're going to screw their extra point up as they squeak by number 8 Notre Dame 41-40. Yeah, that's basically what it came down to. Notre Dame did not perform well on their special team extra point, and A&M did so.
You know, we've talked about it week after week. Rick Sherlock on my shows always brings up special teams, and it seems like there's a game, at least one game, every week that is decided that way. And they get a chance at overtime if they just make the kick. And coaching. That's coaching. And I've backed up Coach Freeman for 5 years, I guess. This is his 5th year, I think. And a lot of guys have been detractors, but you cannot make those mistakes in critical situations in the game. And it cost Notre Dame yesterday, and it might very well cost them a national championship chance because it's a good football team. It's a shame. Defense is not what I thought it would be, but it could be a work.
But they did have an opportunity in the end. It was 4th and goal.
They did.
They had a chance to stop that. That was a great pass to the tight end right there, but they had an opportunity to stop him.
Yeah, they did stiffen down there that last drive, and I thought for a second they might hold their line, but they didn't. So, fun football game.
Should kind of refresh that, David. If you can't see, you just kind of go out and come back in. Yeah, that's the other.
Yeah,
Notre Dame.
Great point,
2
Danny.
weeks of preparing, Nate. And last but not least, Texas got a victory over UTEP, and that's the University of Texas El Paso, by the way, if people don't know that. 27-10, but Archie Manning, man, for somebody that got a lot of hype on the Heisman, even a little bit of hype, 114 yards of TD and an interception. Come on,
not good. Threw under 50%, I think, for the game as well. Mm-hmm. I thought Arch might have got his legs under him a little bit last week. He played well. They let him play his game a little bit more, but this just you can't struggle like this against a group of 5, not even one of the better group of 5 teams. So, or maybe UTEP's better than we think. I don't think they are, but it's possible. That can't happen. And I think Texas only wins again by 17, right?
Did they play the Aggies last? Who did they play last week?
None of this means Arch Manning's a bad quarterback or won't be a very good quarterback. He's just, again, he hasn't had the reps, and it's very obvious. And anybody who was hyping him to win the Heisman, was probably a little bit jumping the gun. So next year, maybe.
All right, so that was it for the college here. Like I said, everybody in the top 25 did their job.
Let me can I give a quick kudo to Jack Hirsch? He did pick UTEP to cover that game yesterday. Very good job by Jack Hirsch taking the points.
Jack.
Yeah, we kept waiting for Arch Manning to really break out, and until he does, 27-10 under normal conditions is a comfortable, if not decisive victory. But in a case like this, all eyes are pointed on him. Any other quarterback performs so-so. If you let it go, you figure they're going to win the game, and they know they have the game in hand. No big deal. But Arch Manning is really under microscope. I think more so than any quarterback in college and the NFL. He's under the biggest microscope to really, perform at a high level. But give him time. He's going to be there for 2 years. He'll get better as he goes along. Let him get better in small increments.
Yeah.
And I want to give it before we make our segue to the NFL. I just want to give a brief shout out to my team, LSU, their defense, 5 interceptions of Lagway. That was impressive performance by the defense.
By the
Still
way,
got to work on the offense.
your coach is starting to have some of the best press conferences, and especially. And by the way, he's absolutely right. Last night they win a football game 20-10 against a decent opponent, and the first question he gets is, basically, what's wrong with your offense?
Right.
I guess to be a coach on any football team.
I'm starting to like Brian Kelly more. I'm not a big Kelly fan, but I've liked him with after the Dabo comments, missing the second half and all that stuff. I'm starting to like
grading. Yes, the grading scale is hilarious. Yes.
Now I also like to give a shout out to the University of Michigan, who destroyed Central Michigan 63-3. Not that I didn't think that wasn't going to happen, but they took the training wheels off of Bryce Underwood, and he was out there balling. Him and a running backs were just killing, and the defense was just excellent too. They had a lot of turnovers. So based on that, now we are going to go. Now we're doing this NFL thing. I'm going to give you the records because we only do 14 games or Sunday, all Sundays games. So this is what we have so far. Keith, you were 9-5, buddy.
That's it. I suck.
I was 8-6. James is 7-7, and Jack, come on, man, we got to get better than this, brother. 5-9. What you doing?
You're right.
I called a game.
Yeah. Wait a second. Last week. I mean, I'm going to do better. That was I told you, I listened to Keith, and I picked a lot of crazy upsets because things never go according to form, he said. And it was proven last year. I said so beforehand, things are going to be totally out of whack. So I picked these upsets, but it wasn't out of whack. Things, for the most part, went according to form. The teams were ready to play. The quality of football was good. So this week's going to be different. Logic is going to prevail. They were illogical picks last week, like picking the Saints, the worst team in the NFL, to win their game. I picked them to win their game. I mean, that's not logical, You can't say a team's going to go 2-15 yet pick them to win their opener. But
you gotta know that your assessment on them being 2-15 might be just a bit off, sir.
It took Jack 5 years to listen to anything I said, and he had to pick last week to do it. That's really unfortunate.
I'll straighten out this week.
And if you pick the Jets, you were probably right. The Jets look really good, and I have to give credit that they might have an actual winning season this season because I like the way they look. Actually, they look pretty good.
They're going to have a lot. If you're counting moral victories, they're going to have a winning season. And moral victories.
Oh, that's straight up, Daddy.
No, it's just straight up, man. It's not even spread. No spreads. Jack didn't want to do that, so
he's taking
good because I don't like to do it either.
He's taking a drug test before he picks today, I heard.
He may be failing it.
Now we know how he stayed up till 2 a.m. last night.
Not legitimately failing it. Something will be tainted in my system. That's what I mean.
There's something tainted in your system, yes.
Jack, that's great. That's awesome, man. All right, so getting into this week's games, we're going to start at the top there. Start with my game. Chicago at Detroit. Who do you got and why? Or if you want to say why.
Where you want to go?
I'll just make a quick comment. I think the Lions do kind of bounce back. They win the game. High-scoring game, 27-26. Jared Goff, something about him. When he loses a game, he seems to bounce back. I mean, he's resilient in that sense, and it's going to be put to the test today because the Lions are really going to be under the microscope. It's more than Ben Johnson's return. It's the way they looked. And I know you guys had mentioned, I think it was yesterday when we did the debate show, James and Brian, maybe the Packers have a super team this year. I don't think so, but maybe they do based on how they looked the first two games. And maybe that's why the Lions were a little off for the opener. But, I would think they would bounce back. And if Caleb Williams plays really well, even if the Bears lose, they take something out of this game. But I'll go with the Lions, something like 27-26.
Yeah, I like that score myself. I think the Bears looked really good in the first half last week. I don't know what happened. They looked really in sync. Caleb Williams was making the right calls, and then he looked like Caleb Williams from some of the times last year where he was just lost, and he'd have guys open and miss them by a lot, not just a little bit. I think this is going to take maybe a work in progress. I still like the Bears to have a decent season, but I think the Lions will win this game. But
Yeah, I'm gonna echo that sentiment from you guys. I think the Lions will win as well. I just think that they can't afford to lose a game this early, considering especially you want to send a message. You got a guy that left. He's coming back into your house. You want to make sure, hey, you made the wrong decision. You should have stayed our offensive coordinator. And if you left, we're going to go ahead and still beat you anyway. And Caleb Williams, I'm just going to go with him in regards to being streaky, being brilliant at times and boneheaded at others. And so I just think that same thing, that ugly face is going to rear itself, is going to show its ugly face again at some point this game. And I think the Lions at home just have enough to win. I mean, they're talented. That's the thing. You can't look at the roster and say, man, this is a completely different team, because they have all the same key players there. I mean, the offense looks great, and you're getting some of your defense back too, so they should get better on that end as well. I just think they're going to beat the Bears, but not bad. It'll be close, like Jack said. I agree.
Like a field goal or something like that. Yeah, I have Detroit as well by field goal. Could be by a point too. Who knows? I think Caleb, though. Let me ask a question real quick on Caleb. Do you think that if he continues to play out of sorts for, say, the next 6 games, that Ben Johnson may go to Badgett?
Highly unlikely. That maybe for the second half of the game. Maybe, if he's playing badly, you might take him out of the second half of the game to give him a chance to watch for a bit. But I don't see him making that move.
I can actually maybe see him making that move, because Ben Johnson seems to be a little hard on players. But I think it would be a mistake, because what I like about Caleb Williams, he's fearless for a young quarterback. He's absolutely fearless. No matter how much he fails, he's going to keep coming at you. That's why I think eventually he's going to enjoy success in the league. But yeah, I could see Ben Johnson doing it, absolutely. If he struggles for about a half dozen more games, I don't mean the move would necessarily be a permanent move, but then again, if he did, go away from Caleb Williams and Baggett played well, you never know what the future could hold.
Yeah, I mean, he'll have one of those. I think Caleb will have one of those Bryce Young moments where he'll get sat down for a minute, like, go sit in the corner in a timeout for a couple of games until you get your thoughts together, and then we'll bring you back in. Yeah, I can see that happening. I don't think
sometimes it's good for a young quarterback too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Right? That's sometimes good for a player.
I don't think that would necessarily be the plan. And you use Bryce Young as an example. The reason Bryce Young got the second chance is because Andy Dalton then got hurt, and they had to go back to Bryce Young. How Dalton played well. I'm not saying Dalton would have been their quarterback this year. I'm not saying that at all. But Bryce Young wouldn't have gotten that second opportunity to start.
And the jury's still out on him right now anyway, after that debacle that he had last week. Yeah. But, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So the L.A. Rams and Matt Stafford go to Tennessee to play the Titans and Cam Ward. Keith, who do you got in that game?
I like the Rams. I always hesitate with the West Coast teams coming east. I think that's a 1:00 game, and those always scare me. But the Rams are obviously much better than the Titans, and they should win this game pretty easily.
Jack, who you got, buddy?
Yeah, Tennessee a young team. They make a lot of mistakes. They could be sloppy at times. I would think the Rams would get it done. If the Rams are truly an elite team as far as being a perennial playoff team. They should be able to beat Tennessee. Let's wait for Cam Ward to show us something. He doesn't strike me as one of these sensational rookies who's going to have a really big year the way Jaden Daniels did.
He doesn't have the type of players around him that Jaden Daniels did either. So that's
correct,
right? Yeah.
James, what you got?
I mean, did the airplane land in Tennessee? It's the Rams are winning. I can't say anything else about that.
Yeah, I got the Rams. I think the Rams are going to go as far as Matthew Stafford's back's going to take them. Until that point comes on, I'm going to be picking the Rams in most of these games. Seattle goes to Pittsburgh and a newly revived Aaron Rodgers. What do you got, Keith?
Interesting game. I want to take Seattle in the worst way. I really do. But Aaron Rodgers played well last week. The Steelers offense played well last week. Their defense wasn't that good. I'm going to take the Steelers only because they're at home, and Aaron Rodgers might play one more good game.
Jack, who you got?
Yeah, what happened to the Steelers defense against the Jets? That was supposed to be their strong suit. I would think that would correct itself somewhat this week, and Steelers should win the game. I think after last week, the defensive unit had to be a little upset, but they keep in mind they did come up with that great stand at the end of the game against the Jets, and Jalen Ramsey still showed he's an elite cornerback.
Those two breakups at the end were impressive.
Pittsburgh should win this game, something like 23-16.
Yeah, I'm just going to give it to give Pittsburgh the benefit of the doubt of being at home. I think the Seahawks are a little bit better than the Steelers.
If this game was in Seattle, I'd be taking.
Honestly, I agree with you, Danny. The Jets played really well, but the Jets defense didn't do well either. I was disappointed in both defenses, and I just think that the better team won that day. Unfortunately, but I don't think the Seahawks may, if they can hold them, if their defense is actually a lot better, I think. But at the same time, the 49ers were without a lot of offensive players too, so it's hard to really gauge that. But I like the Steelers at home. Rodgers showed me something.
I will stick with the Steelers as well. It's at home. Aaron Rodgers, all the excitement of the Steelers should get the crowd going, and they should win that game against Seattle. Seattle is like one of the bottom two teams I picked to finish in that division anyway. So whether it's Seahawks or the 49ers, either one could pick that bottom row.
Also, I was wondering who the second option was for receiver. It looks like the kid, what's his name, Calvin? I forgot the kid's name. But he's the one
Calvin Austin.
Calvin Austin, yeah. They look like they got a second option there, so that might help as well.
He's been on that team for like 3 or 4 years now, and he's like the option that they go to when they have nobody or if one of their number 2 receiver goes out. So
he looks like he's going to be the next Alan Lazard for Rodgers. So he'll probably get about 600 yards and maybe 4 or 5 TDs this season for my projection.
All right. Speaking of those New York Jets, they'll be hosting Buffalo. What say you, Keith?
Just because of history and the Jets did play better. Their defense has got to be played. I just don't see any way they're stopping. They couldn't stop Aaron Rodgers last week. They're not stopping Josh Allen and that offense. I don't think. I'll take Buffalo here. I'd like to see the Jets show me something, but because I'd like to see Buffalo lose a couple games somewhere. I don't think this is going to be one of them, though. I think Josh Allen will have his way today.
What you got, Jack?
Yeah, with the Jet defense, I mean, kudos to Sauce Gardner after having a great rookie year. He was so-so last year, but in game 1, he was asked to guard DK Metcalf, good part of the game, and he did a great job, Sauce. And isn't Aaron Glenn this, defensive wizard, this great defensive coach? Yet the Jets defense, didn't really get the job done in the first game, and all this excitement with Justin Fields. It is one game. On balance, he played well last week, but I think the Jets get the moral victory that I talked about earlier today. They run Buffalo close. Buffalo has the danger of a letdown. They're probably so sky high, to play the Ravens in the first game. And now they play the Jets, a team they basically owned. So I got to go with Buffalo, but I think it's going to be close. The Jets are going to tease us again, but come up short when all is said and done. Buffalo should beat them something like 26-23, field goal at the end.
My upset special is this game. I like the Jets. I think because I'm looking at what Lamar Jackson, what Derrick Henry did, minus the fumble. They couldn't stop their run. They couldn't stop that run at all. They were dominant with the running, and I don't think it'd be any different with just kind of similar with this RPO action with Justin Fields and Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. So I like if them at home to control this game and maybe a little lower scoring than what it was. And that defense has got to bounce back. I think they're going to bounce back. And I think they're going to bounce back. And I like the Jets in this one, in the squeaker, but I like them to upset Buffalo.
Yeah, I until I see the
But I
Jets
could be wrong.
improved. Until I see the Jets play a little bit better on defense, because that is supposedly AG's strength. I mean, he did okay here, but there's a lot of things.
He's okay.
Yeah, he was okay here. He was more he's the coached. That's why I figure he's going to be a better coach than Ben Johnson, because he's more like Dan Campbell than Ben Johnson is. Ben Johnson's more of the coordinator.
He cut Xavier Gibson for fumbling the ball.
Yeah. Well,
if you're Xavier Gibson, you're probably not overly upset because the Giants picked him up, so he doesn't have to move. He's in the same stadium. I'm talking about a perfect landing spot.
Right.
For Xavier Gibson. It couldn't have been better.
Yeah,
but it was like you said. It wasn't just a one-off, though. It wasn't just a one-off in regards to the one fumble. I think there's a pattern that was going on.
Yeah, this is true. Well, the Ravens. I always think the Ravens O-line is always overrated too. I think Lamar does a very good job of making sure, their offensive line doesn't get put into the spotlight, because he does a lot of things, because he's that great athletically too. So. I'm going to
have to disagree with Danny on that Jets O-line. They're pretty underrated. I looked at the game that they played. They got some players on that front right now, and it's going to be a different season this season. Looking at the way that offensive line is. So Jay,
Tucker's out for the year. He got injured, so that's a big.
But he was out last game, and they still were dominant. They were still dominant. So I don't know. I mean, you probably have depth. That somebody replaced him and he did well. So we'll see.
Yeah, I'm going to take Buffalo in this matchup until the Jets they're getting ready to sell me on something, but I want to make sure if they beat Buffalo, then they sold me. But right now I can't. It's kind of like most teams in the league right now. It's only the second week, and it's kind of hard to gauge everybody right now. Yeah. But the Jets are playing pretty good football as of game one. I'll just put it that way. New York Giants going to the Dallas Cowboys. This ought to be an interesting game. Giants, I think are 1-7 against Dallas in the last few games. Who do you got there, Keith?
Once again, I'll stick with history. Dallas has handled the Giants very well. I'm not sold on I think you may be seeing the last of Russell Wilson this week, in my mind. And I think the Cowboys handle business. They played fairly well against the Eagles, and we'll see if they can keep that momentum up. I think they'll Danny thinks I'm going to take it. Danny, I'm done with the Giants. They can go to the Super Bowl and beat the Patriots again. I'm still never picking them to win another game. Maybe I'll pick them somewhere. I like the Cowboys today.
Who you got there, Jack?
We during our debate show yesterday, there was one question: which 0-1 team is under the most pressure to win? And I said the Lions. If I had a chance to do it over again, I possibly wouldn't say the Dallas Cowboys. Can you imagine a disaster if in Dallas, with this Micah Parsons thing, the Giants go in there and actually beat the Cowboys? Can you imagine that? You mentioned Malik Neighbors a little while ago. Having a towel over his head on the sideline, that's quitting on your teammates as far as I'm concerned. You're in this day and age of social media. The camera's going to follow you. I don't go for that. That's got to get addressed. And I think the coach should have came down on him very hard. Basically let him know you're a great player, but you're a player. And I'm letting you run play. You're not starting the first series of plays because I didn't like that. Establish yourself. You're Brian DeBall. But of course, in this day and age, when there's a star player, they defer to him. They don't want to antagonize him and get him upset. Jerry Jones is doing a lot of signings of players now, it seems. Not a lot, but he's been signing guys, since Micah Parsons left, storing things up. Yeah, he has a little more money there to get it done. Cowboys should win this game comfortably 24-13. Keith thinks Russell Wilson's going to go out. We won't finish the game, perhaps. Is it Jameis Winston or Jackson Dart who the ball is going to go in with? If Dart was your second option, if he ran plays with on the depth chart, he's the backup quarterback technically. How do you not go with him? So do you try to hold off on Dart a little more and you go with Jameis Winston? That's going to be intriguing to see what happens.
If you go to Winston, you're punting the season. I can tell you that right now.
It's not that bad. Jameis Winston is a good quarterback when he's not throwing pick sixes.
Okay. When is that?
That's every week.
That's Mr. There's a reason why.
I like what Jack said in regards to normally I think he goes overboard in some of his takes on how people should be punished and his capital punishment. But I sort of agree with him in regards to the Malik Neighbors situation. That's just childish, and maybe he should bench him because we can go all the way back. We can go back to Mike Singletary, what he did when he coached San Francisco 49ers and what he did to Vernon Davis. He kicked him out of the game. But Vernon admittedly said that was probably the best thing that ever happened to him. He wasn't happy about it at first, but he understood later and they talked about it and they became close. And you can see how Vernon Davis' career it turned out, and he was a lot more respectable player. But yes, maybe it should, you should let your players know, hey, I'm still in charge here, and we need leaders here. If you're one of the better players here, you need to be a leader as well. And that definitely showed no signs of leadership. And I'm ashamed because he's a LSU player, so I definitely got to show better, Malik, and be a leader on that team in losing fashion. If you're losing, fine, you got to learn how to lose like an adult. It is what it is. But I'm going to go with the Cowboys in this one at home. I just think the defense of the Giants is improving. I think they're stacked with a lot of good players in there, but they're just not ready yet, and the offense is not going to help them out in any way. And so I think the Cowboys and I like the way Dak and company look on offense. I think they look better. Dak looks healthy, and I think they're gonna shred up that secondary of New York.
Yeah, I'm going with Dallas as well. I think the Giants kind of disappointed me a little bit because they let Washington really blow up their defense. And considering what I saw with Green Bay, and I don't consider Green Bay's defensive line any better than the Giants' defensive line. That kind of disappointed me a little bit. So until they get that, and the trenches are bad. Their offensive line is hideous right now. And everybody wants to get, replace Wilson, but dude, why don't you protect him? That might help him a little bit instead of him running all over the place. We'll see. But Dallas is going to win. I feel Dallas.
One of the things, just quickly, I heard what Rex Ryan said with the Giants should start Jackson Dart right now, and don't use the schedule as an excuse. You look at the schedule and you see all these tough games, with the exception, and I don't mean to be funny, James, of the New Orleans Saints. A bunch of tough games on. Didn't mean to be funny then. A bunch of tough games on the schedule, but the NFL is full of tough games. I mean, you can't be waiting and be so selective. Oh, I'm going to start him at this game because this team isn't that strong defensively up front. You can't have that attitude. Either guy's good enough to, play in the NFL or not. The sooner he plays, the better. I mean, what are you going with Russell Wilson for? But with that said, you got to give Russell Wilson one more game, because when you signed him in the offseason, you hadn't drafted Jackson Dart yet. You made a commitment to Russell Wilson to be a starter. The commitment has to at least be a couple of games. And then if he's not getting it done, you'll tell him you got off to a slow start. I did give you the opportunity. I kept my word to you.
Yeah, I just don't like that narrative either, because if that offensive line is having problems right now with Russ Wilson, then even if you put Jameson will just be an entertainment factor to me if you put him out there, because he's going to throw. He don't care where he throws it at, and that's just going to be pure entertainment. But if you put Dart in that situation, you're going to get that young man killed, because that offensive line isn't helping. And Russell Wilson, to the degree, he is the elder statesman on that team, so he's not going to perform at that level as a Jackson Dart is, because he doesn't have them legs anymore like that. He's still a good quarterback, obviously, but offensive lines help quarterbacks, and that line ain't helping nobody. They can't even run the ball. So I mean, there you go.
When you have bad offensive line play, you got it 2 seconds or less. You got to get rid of the ball, get it out of your hand. And Russell Wilson is not that style of player. He's a style that will roll out and look for the best play. And so it's just not, it wasn't a good marriage, I would say, so to speak, because going in, you already knew you had a bad offensive line. You didn't address it in the offseason like you should have. And then you got your best players hurt. Your blind side's hurt. And I think somebody else is hurt on the line. I'm not sure. So they got a situation that's going to be trial by fire. I agree that you should throw Jackson Dart in after this game if it's no Russ time. If the Russ is on the bus, then Jackson Dart needs to start.
I just saw a comment. I don't know, is it a joke or not, just to have some fun with me, about that Jackson Dart should hold a clipboard for a while and learn from, Russell Wilson. You learn by playing. Come on. I mean,
Brian Horton learned a lot holding that clipboard anyway. You know that.
And I'm not going to belabor
what you say,
but the Giant offensive line isn't mysteriously going to be so good by next year. If you were guaranteed to have a good offensive line by next year, I could then understand holding them off. But this is the NFL. I hate to say it. Most of the time, no one has a good offensive line. Most of the time. I hate to say it. All the teams run into problems, virtually all of them.
This is also the problem of having a coach who's on a short leash. He's going to get fired if they don't win games, and Jackson Dart's going to give him his best chance, and that's who he's going to play eventually, whether it's good or bad, because maybe he should sit for a bit and watch and not get beat up, as Brian says. But he's going to think about his own well-being, too, and not the organization.
I'm not sure he's on a short leash, Keith. Giant ownership is patient. He's close with the GM. The ball is close with Joe Shine. Joe Shine's not going to fire him, even if they have a poor record. Ownership might not. Yeah, the only way he keeps his job is if they show that Jackson Dart is developing and shows the promise to make them a winner starting next year. That's the only way.
True.
I agree with that.
Everybody, they all played badly early and got beat up.
All right. Our next game will be the Cleveland Brownies versus Baltimore Ravens.
To stick with James' airline analogy, the Browns plane probably shouldn't take off at all, because they're going to go to Baltimore and get killed. Baltimore's got to be Baltimore's got to be aching after last week's game and just waiting to beat up on somebody. And the Browns are a nice heat up. We got more controversy about Shedeur this week. I mean, come on. This team is going nowhere and nowhere fast, and they're going to get shellacked today in Baltimore.
Yeah, the Ravens should win by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a little bit newsworthy, a little bit Joe Flacco returning, to the Ravens. I'm sure he'll be in their Ring of Honor. He deserves to be. So this Shedeur Sanders thing, it's amazing the way we keep talking about it week after week. And it is entertaining stuff. Now he's not getting reps with the practice squad because they got Zappy to run, the scout team. I mean, what the heck is going on? I'm going to tell you the reason Shedeur Sanders is on the Cleveland Browns. Money. That's the reason. His jerseys are selling. I mean, his jerseys are what? Maybe the second most sold in the NFL, or maybe they'll be number 1 soon. It's money to the Cleveland Browns. They're using him in a sense, really using him. I mean, that is the insult on top of insults. He has to stand and watch during practice.
Oh, his jersey is number 5 selling in the whole league.
I heard he's
Number
running
5. Okay, I thought it was number 2 at one point.
It was, but it's still it was number 1. But it's still 5. I mean, that's still impressive. Yeah. To not even be playing with the practice squad.
That's why Cleveland is holding on to him for that reason. Financial thing. He means a little bit to the value of the franchise at the current moment.
Yeah.
All right. So who do you have there, James?
I'm going to pick the Ravens, but I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout. I like Cleveland's defense. I think their defense is a lot better than people give credit for. They just don't have anything on offense, and so they're going to be, I think they're going to show. And I don't know mentally if the Baltimore Ravens will bounce back just from the blowout. I mean, the collapse they had in that last game. I just think that this is something that's been a trend, and they lost the first couple of games last season. Not saying that they didn't bounce back and do well towards the end of the season, but you're going to play you're going to play a really good defense now. And can you do the same things that you did? And if you have any mistakes, can you bounce back from them? That's my question. But I think they win the game. I just don't think it's 3 touchdowns. I don't think it's a blowout. I think people are not giving Cleveland's defense any credit.
Yeah, I'm gonna also go with Baltimore. One, because it's in Baltimore, and I'm with you, James. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. That's what we thought Cincinnati was going to do to him last week. Guess what? Nope. And Flacco played really well in that game. So it's a different defense. This is a better defense than what he faced. So in saying that, it'll be close. They'll probably lose by a touchdown, maybe 5 points, 7 points, maybe 10 at the most to me. But it's going to be a close game pretty much throughout the whole day. And San Francisco 49ers are going to the New Orleans. Actually, they're limping to New Orleans. Who do you got, Keith?
This is going to be my upset special again. The team traveling to west to east, although I guess they were in the central in New Orleans, right? So it's not quite as bad. They are banged up. Saints got to win a game somewhere. This might as well be where it is. I'll take the Saints today.
What you got, Jack?
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of one of the Rocky Balboa movies. This simple defeat of your little, champ. If the Saints can't beat this beat up 49er team, it's going to kind of, even James is going to throw in the towel, I think, on the season. They're ever going to win a game, this is it. I mean, the 49ers seem decimated, but I think the 49ers find a way to win the game, something like a 16-15 game, because they know in the big picture they got to step up. They can't afford a loss. So I think that it's not going to be the most entertaining games, but I'll go with the Niners to eke out, a victory.
So you're telling me Mac Elbow Macaroni Jones is going to come in there and just beat the Saints. They're going to find a way to beat the Saints.
Elbow Jones.
Well, Matt Jones was reportedly the 49ers were going to draft him ahead of Trey Lance, go number 3. They had faith in him, and they just kind of switched at the end. And he did have a good year at New England. I know he's been awful at times after that, absolutely awful. But, maybe he's
Jacksonville. Let's not forget his stop there. Thank you, Danny. Yes, I mean the bags are already on. They're passing about as they walk in. Just in case. They're already there. But with that said, I just think that the Saints are not, as Jack wants to put them, at the bottom of the sludge in the what is that on your house that would you have on the I can't think right now.
Gutters.
The gutters, yes, pretty much have us at this. We're lower than sludge in gutters, is what he's saying. But with that said, I like Spencer Rattler. I think he played a close game against. He played a close game against Arizona, and they had an opportunity. He put them in a position to win. Just the guy didn't just come down with the catch. And I think they're going to play against a very tough defense in the 49ers. I still like Fred Warner. I like Nick Bosa. But I also like the kid that we drafted. I like Kelvin Banks. I think this is going to be a really good litmus test for Kelvin Banks to go up against Nick Bosa. He's been great so far. He's been great throughout the preseason, and he's also been great in the last game he played. No penalties. I mean, I saw the all 22 on him, dominant. So that gives us an opportunity. I like Alvin Kamara. I think we win, man. I think we win at home. There's just no quarterback and no George Kittle. That's tough. It's gonna be a tough one to overcome.
I love it. I love it when our viewers are on top of Keith's show too.
That's always there.
I am also going to go with New Orleans in an upset with San Francisco. I think just everything is aligning right with the stars here for New Orleans to win this game. I just think new people are underestimating the Saints anyway. I think they're a better team than people give them credit for. Real quick, just before you go, Keith, New England at Miami.
Well, Patriots haven't had a lot of success in Miami the last several. Even Tom Brady, at the end of Tom Brady's career, they didn't have a lot of success down there. But this Miami team is a mess. They got beat by. I mean, might be a decent Colts team. It's not a really good team, and they got just destroyed. And when your head coach comes out in his press conference on Monday and says it's a really good day because we're one day closer to death, I've got a feeling he feels the pressure breathing down his neck. I think that the Patriots rebound off a really poor performance last week, play much better, and I think they win this game in Miami. Close. I think it'll be a close game, but I think they win.
All right, Jack, who you got?
Yeah, I mean, New England should win this game. They're already talking about benching Tua. I mean, that's wild to me, considering who the backups are. It's not like they have a young quarterback they drafted. Even though you could look at Zach Wilson as still having potential, but come on. And Quinn Ewers there, the backups. It's just messy. They held their players-only meeting. Let's see what comes out of that, because if nothing comes out of that, Miami truly is cooked this season. New England should win their first game on the Mike Vrabel and do it with some room to spare, the way I look at it. Something like 27-13. I think they should win by a couple of touchdowns.
We're dead.
I'm saying the same thing. The plane's not landing in Miami. The Patriot missiles are landing in Miami. That's what's landing in Miami.
Missiles.
Nice. Yeah, they're gonna beat them. I think it's over.
And I'm also picking New England. Yeah, Miami's cooked.
All right, Brian. The rest of my picks you'll see in the ESPN.
Yes, sir.
My picks. All right, guys. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games.
Take care.
You as well, sir.
It's
have a good show.
Morning, Keith, 8 a.m. Eastern time for our show.
Jack and Keith's weekend update tomorrow, 9 a.m. Good job of plugging that show,
8
Jack.
a.m. 8 a.m.
What'd I say?
9 a.m.
9.
All right.
It ends at 9 a.m. You can't wait to get done with me.
He's still on vacation time.
8 a.m. Eastern.
All right, Keith. Have a good one, man.
Bye.
All right. For the three Musketeers that are left here, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars going against those Cincinnati Bengals. Jack, who you got?
Yeah, I mean, the Jacksonville's a little bit intriguing. They won their opening game. I'm not that high on them. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is still, to me, under the microscope. Travis Hunter seems to be more in the news as far as being a two-way player. They were planning to use him more on offense than defense. Now the thought is maybe they need him a little more playing cornerback than, as a wide receiver. He had like 6 catches, 33 yards, which is kind of iffy. It doesn't blow you away that. Cincinnati traditionally has always gotten off this slow start, but they won their opener. I think they'll do it again. And I think Joe Burrow is arguably the best quarterback in the NFL at this moment, arguably. Okay. So I'll go with Cincy winning this game, something like at home 30-20.
Who you got, James?
Fair enough with that score, Jack. I think Cincinnati is going to put up a big score too, as well. Maybe 35, 40 points. I'm not sold on the Jaguars just yet. I like the coach. I'm not a fan of the quarterback. I think he's got weapons around him now, but and they beat. I mean, don't get me wrong. Let's see if last week was a fluke because they beat the Carolina Panthers. So I want to see what they're going to do. And sorry, Sonya, if you're out there, wherever you are, this is not really a shot. I'm just saying this is where they are defensively. I know the Bengals defense is not all that great, but they did hold up, even though, again, the Browns offense wasn't all that great either. I like Burrow and company to put up the points and at home. So they're going to put up like potentially a 40 burger. I'm calling 40 points here.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati wins this game. As far as Cincinnati barely got by. If it wasn't for the fact that Cleveland's kicker couldn't hit anything at the time, they would have lost that game. And like I said, Flacco was moving that ball up and down the field on Cincinnati, but it was their defense. Their defense stinks. And Jacksonville is probably going to do the same thing to their defense too. However, it'll probably be a shootout, I imagine. If Joey Sunshine over there in Jacksonville can get it done.
They're not going to keep Jamar Chase quiet for 2 games in a row. He's going to have a big day today.
Will we have
along with his partner?
Potential to see Hunter take on Chase.
Wow, that would be an intriguing matchup. I don't think that's going to happen. You want to know why? Because as great as Travis Hunt is, he's still a rookie. I don't think you're going to want to throw him in that deep. It wouldn't. If you're looking to nurture him to a degree, I mean that's a brutal matchup. Not that Hunter can't get it done. Arguably, he could get it done, and if he got it done against Chase, you're talking about him being a mega star right now, and then you got to play him at cornerback the majority of the time going forward. So the implications to that matchup that go beyond today's game.
Mm-hmm. That is true. Yeah, I don't see that's going to happen either. I think he's just going to be in more nickel and dime packages. Like, he wasn't on that many in the last game, but he'll be on more nickel and dime packages in this game. And he might have a potential of matching up at Chase, depending on what the offense does for Cincinnati. All right, Carolina at those Arizona Cardinals. Who you got, Jack?
Yeah, Cardinals should bounce back after. What am I saying? They won their opener, but I forget what I just said about bouncing back. I'm used to Kyler Murray disappointing, so I instinctively say that. Can Bryce Young bounce back? Like James mentioned before, he had a horrific opening game after showing a lot of improvement towards the end of next season. convincing the Panthers to continue to go forward with him as their franchise quarterback. And if he gets benched early in the year, that's got to be it. It's not like they want him to sit down and learn more and then bring him along later on. And, Kyler Murray seems to be getting a little more comfortable with Marvin Harrison this year. He's going to utilize him more. Not that he didn't utilize him last year, but Marvin Harrison, I think, could be a breakout star in his second year, even though we expected it to be in his first year. I think the Cardinals are just better. And, the Panthers defense there were red flags in the preseason, and there were red flags in the opening game. And I'd like Arizona to win this one, a couple of touchdowns, something like 30-15.
What do you got, James?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Cardinals as well. I don't know. I tell you what, the offense for the Panthers better straighten up, because it's going to put the coach on a hot seat, and this might be his last year. And then, of course, this may be the last time we see a 5'10" quarterback that struggles have an opportunity to be a starter in the league. And so I like him. I think he has potential to be like a Drew Brees to me. I saw him at Alabama, and you saw some glimpses last season when he came back off the bench. But this looks pretty bad. I mean, we could attribute some of this to the offensive line play, and also Xavier Legette is not a great wide receiver. That was a second round. I think he's going to be a bust. He's just not good in regards to what they need. And Tedero McMillan's just starting. So you need some help at the ends here, and you got a good running back in Trooper Hubbard. I just don't know. But for right now in this game, I think Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison continue to improve and build their rapport with one another, and they win this game. And I think it may be sure.
Is it Bryce Young, or is it the Carolina Panthers? Something about their system, no organization, no matter who the coach is. Because before him, Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield were given this, that they were the starting quarterbacks. They were going to go forward the Panthers with them as the franchise quarterback as long as they could play well when they got him. And both guys played poorly for the Panthers, and then they go elsewhere and they play really well.
I think part of it, because look, when I saw the Carolina Panthers coming in as a franchise, a franchise team, they were really good. And being a Saints fan, you see them twice a year. They were always competitive. They had great players. They had a great coach. And I think when you lose two great coaches, you had Fox and you had what's the guy's name? He went to Washington. I can't think of his name. Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
Yeah, great coaches, man. But those guys were hard-nosed guys, and they were disciplined. That team had discipline. I've always seen, as much as I hated them, you have to respect them. And they had a lot of discipline. I just don't see discipline. I think it starts at the top with the owner, and all that rolls downhill. And so I just think that there's just in disarray right now. So it starts at the top, all the way at the top. So the previous owner, the previous coaches, they always were competitive. They were always a really good team. It just seems to be a reflective of ownership now. And I think Sonia would let you know that that's probably more so the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they used to have a tough.
They did. Well. They sure did.
They got rid of a lot of their players on there, and their defense has not looked anywhere near what it's used to look like. That's one of their big factors in not being a very good team is their defense. Their defense is just so leaky. I also have the Cardinals winning that game. Again, sorry, Sonia, but I got to call it as it is. Denver at Indianapolis. Intriguing game here because are we really sold on Daniel Jones being the guy in Indianapolis, or was it just the team that they played? Who do you got, Jack?
Yeah, that's a good question. All of a sudden, everyone's buzzing about Daniel Jones. He's been in the league 6 years. Come on. I mean, what are you getting new? It's one game against an awful Miami Dolphin team. I'm not saying Daniel Jones is necessarily bad. You know, he did have one good season. He's capable of having a good year. Let's not get excited about him like he's going to be a difference maker, you know, against the Bronco defense. But it is a real test. Have we underrated Indianapolis as a whole? Because Indianapolis is usually competitive. They're usually contending for the division title there. So, and Bo Nix was so in his opening game. And of course, we talk about second-year quarterbacks. What happened with C.J. Stroud? Is he going to take a little step backwards? With that said, you know, I look for a defensive game, and I like the Broncos in this game in Indianapolis to win 17-14. We tend to go with home teams. We say, well, in Indianapolis, that'll give us the edge. But every week, if you look at the records of the home teams, half the time they lose anyway. But we put extra emphasis on Indianapolis, you know. But I like Denver in a tight one there. But if Indianapolis should win and Daniel Jones plays great, you got a reason to get a little excited all of a sudden. I'm not going to say it's only 2 games. That now there's a little flame going on if that happens, but it's got to happen this afternoon, and I don't think it will.
All right, James, who you got?
So I have, I mean, Jack, I heard you mention the situation with Daniel Jones being in the league for several years. I agree. He has been in the league for several years, but what he has not been on a team that has the weapons that he has. I mean, he had Saquon Barkley, but he had Saquon Barkley and not much else. You can argue that he has another Saquon Barkley and Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor is no slouch himself. He led the league in rushing once. I mean, he was a dog at Wisconsin. And I mean, barring any injuries, I think he's going to bounce back again and have another 1,000-yard season. And you got all these weapons: Josh Downs, Antonio Pittman, Antonio Pittman, Alec Pierce, Adonai Mitchell, and you have I was going to say the tight end Tyler Warren. He's got an opportunity to win, and I got this in an upset in a close game, 20-17. I like at the Indianapolis at home winning this game, and mind you, he's going up against a stiffer, tougher test in the defense with the Broncos. But again, you bring up the situation with Bo Nix. This may be his sophomore slump. We'll see. I don't know. I think a scrappy defense as well with the coach. They have a decent defense as well, but not like the Broncos, but they have a really decent defense. So I like them, and I like them to be maybe a team that might compete in the AFC South.
And that's not saying a lot, but it's AFC South pretty bad. I'm going to take Denver because until I see a consistent, and believe me, I liked everything Daniel Jones has. I've been a big proprietor of him going to a different spot and doing better, and that's what he did the first game. However, that was against a Miami defense that was like non-existent and making too many bad decisions. Denver's defense is a little bit better, and I'm not saying that I'm not being sarcastic. They're a lot better. They're a lot better than Miami is. So we'll see what happens on that end. And James, you're right. Their defense is pretty good. People forget about their defense. You might have those weapons on the offense, but that defense plays pretty well too. But I still got Denver. Probably a real tight game. It'll be like a field goal game, and it probably would go either way. Could go Indianapolis way too, but I got Denver in this one.
Well, let's hope that Daniel Jones doesn't trip on the shoestrings. So.
Yeah, let's not get tripped. Let's not the 5-yard line trip you this time, Daniel Jones, if you're running. All right, Super Bowl rematch of last year, but it's in Kansas City, and it's the Philadelphia Eagles going to Kansas City. Who you got, Jack?
It's going to come down, I think, to the last possession. I'm going to go with the Eagles, but Jalen Hurts is going to have to play a little differently. He's going to have to utilize his wide receivers to beat the Chiefs. you know. Brown and Smith and Devontae Smith, they can't have quiet games. I mean, you can't just run the ball with Saquon Barkley, who was so in the opener against Dallas. And, when we think of the Chiefs, you think of Patrick Mahomes, but they have a pretty good defensive unit. It didn't quite show up fully against the Chargers, in the opening game loss, a game that was there for them to win. I think the Eagles will be the last team standing at the end. They'll leave Kansas City. They'll win, field goal at the end. One of these classic Chief games that they usually are going to win at home. I think they come up a little short in this one. And unlike last year, where they won all these close games and they were over the first 16 games, they were 15-1. We might get a reversal, guys, a crazy reversal. After 16 games, they might be only, 8-8, 9-7, losing every single game in a tight game. It sometimes works the other way.
Okay. And what you got there, James?
Yeah, I think not having your receivers like Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy is going to really hurt them in this regard. They have some decent replacements, but they're just that. There's some replacement players. Let's hope it's not like the movie that we saw in the 90s, replacement players. But I just think that the Eagles are still really good. Both teams are really good on defense, but I like Jalen Hurts. I think they give AJ Brown the ball. But let's just say if he doesn't get the ball, is that going to be an issue going forward? Again, is he going to start sitting on the sideline reading books again? Working on his thesis for his or dissertation for his PhD. You don't know. I mean, it could be a lot of things going on. But I like the Eagles to go into Kansas City and win a close one. It'll be close still, I think, because the offense of the Eagles is not really meant to score like 30, 40 points, but they still can go in and win a game. And I think they're going to just run the ball a lot more with between RPO with Jalen Hurts or Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I also picked the Eagles to win this game as well. In a close one, I don't think it's going to be a blowout like it was in the Super Bowl. I think both teams have shed some talent and add some talent at the same time. I think Kansas City, though, the wide receiver thing, I'm not really too concerned about because they still have, Mahomes. Mahomes is the guy. He's the difference maker anyway. He makes these receivers good. That's one good quality about having a Patrick Mahomes on your team. Their offensive line still is going through the same problems that they had last year. What's his name? Jawan Taylor, their tackle. This dude does not know how to stay on sides. Dude, it's been 2 years, man. Get it through your head. Stay outside. I don't know what's going on with this dude. But their other tackle, Simmons, he played very good in the last game against the Chargers. I just think that Philadelphia has more of a balanced team right now than Kansas City is. And AJ Brown being out the last game, I think that was mostly because he was kind of injured. People still haven't recognized that fact. He was injured, but he was still playing. And I think and that's why they signed Michi, just in case he couldn't go. So he should, if he's better this week, if he feels better this week, he should get more targets. He should be fine. I'm not worried about AJ. He's going to get his targets. But yeah, I got Philadelphia in a close one at Kansas City. All right. Last game for Sunday, Atlanta at the Minnesota Vikings. Who you got, Jack?
Yeah, I think more the same from the Falcons. What did they do? Did they demote their longtime kicker? What's his name? Cruz? Because he hasn't been that good, recently dating back to last year. But they didn't cut him from what I understand. He's still on the roster. And they're letting another kicker kick today. That's dysfunctional. Either you cut your kicker, you don't. That you can't have, a kick on the roster or whatever. It doesn't make sense. the jury's out. J.J. McCarthy's another story. Week one is always about quarterbacks. I guess it's about quarterbacks throughout the season, and that's who I always start and lead off with because there's so many storylines. When a guy throws a pick six, fellas, this is what drives me crazy about it, and no one ever talks about this. He puts the team in a terrible hole, and the math is simple. You throw a pick six, and it's all on the quarterback. You're giving the other team 7 points. So now you're -7. So now what happens if the next time you get a touchdown, you drive your team down the field, and you're great? All you've done is have 2 possessions where you're at 0, where your team hasn't benefited by your play. And then if you score a touchdown on your 3rd possession, fine. Your team is +7 after 3 possessions, which might not be bad. It might be so-so. So J.J. McCarthy had a mediocre 3 quarters, but he came on big at the end, and they're using his legs, Kevin O'Connell, quarterback coach. Falcons seemed dysfunctional. I saw the end of their game against Tampa Bay. It was there for them to win the game. Michael Penix kept overthrowing receivers. It was a physical thing at the end of the game, not because he was under pressure the way I saw it. And, Raheem Morris, is he the right guy for the job? Ironically, he's coaching against his old team that he was the head coach for Tampa Bay. If Tampa Bay's Super Bowl bound the way I think they are, you got to go into I'm not talking about Tampa Bay. What am I saying? I'm a little ahead of myself. They're playing Houston. I just talked about them against Atlanta. But I got to feel Minnesota gets it done against Atlanta. I think there's better coaching there, better position players, obviously. And Brian Flores, the Vikings didn't have that good a game in their opener against Caleb Williams the first 3 quarters. I think Brian Flores, say what you want about him, really good defensive coordinator. He straightens things out against the Falcons. I can't see Michael Penix having a big game against that Viking defense. So, the Vikings should beat the Falcons. Close game, though.
We got James.
I'm going to disagree with Jack. And go figure. Is there anything new about that? I don't know. I think that the offense of the Falcons are very similar style to what Ben Johnson and his crew is. I'm not saying that Ben Johnson and the offensive coordinator for the Falcons are similar, but I mean, this is a guy that came out of the Sean McVay tree. That's for that's the offensive coordinator for the Falcons. I can't think of his name. My apologies. But with that said, they're talented on offense, and I think Michael Penix Jr. is still. He's got talent at the quarterback position. You got talent there. He's finding ways to utilize his tight end now. Kyle Pitts wasn't really all that great, but I think he had some issues with quarterback position and injury. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I think there's a better rapport here with Michael Penix Jr. And also you have talent with Drake London, and you got a couple of other guys that are like little slot, speedy guys there, Ray McLeod and Darnell Mooney. And you have a running back that's just elite, totally elite. And I don't think they met that. To me, that was the mismatch that the defense for the Minnesota Vikings didn't have to go up against them. They got that now. He's a mismatch against those linebackers, and I think he's going to be able to exploit that as a receiver out of the backfield. So I got Atlanta going up there to Minnesota and winning a close one, because you're right about J.J. McCarthy. I'm not sold on him just yet, and I don't know if he can actually bring back a game and be in the game enough to win to come back and win. I think Atlanta's going to go up there and win, like I said, about 3 or 4 points and steal a victory from them.
Well, that's going to be 2 people you're going to disagree with, because I think Minnesota's going to win that game. It's a homecoming for, of course, now that he's a backup, Kirk Cousins. Again, it's like everything's a homecoming for him nowadays because he's been on teams. But anyway, but I just think the Vikings, you got to look at something in that game. I'm going to show you the offense and defense. J.J. McCarthy threw that pick six like Jack said. But he came back from that, and he rose above that. That's how you tell what kind of quarterbacks are going to be decent. If they can forget that pick six and go out there and continue to play well and continue to play and get that win. I also think that Minnesota's defense, they're really the whole team all around is a lot better than it was last year. And that's saying a lot. And they went 14-3. Think about that. But their defense just tagged. They just went off on the Chicago, offense. When Flores just dialed it up, when he had to dial it up, they couldn't stop that defense. I mean, sure, Caleb was having accuracy problems. He probably left a few open out there, but at the same time, there was a reason why he was having those accuracy problems because that defense was in his face. So I think that they're going to do the same thing. And remember, we still have that outlet, that left tackle, the right tackle that's out. I don't know. I didn't really see too much from the one that took his place. He didn't do too bad last game, but different defense. So I do have Minnesota winning that one, and that it'll probably be a close game. Like some of these games are going to be close in the beginning of the year. So either the defenses aren't going to play well and they're going to be high-scoring close games, or the defenses are going to play well. It's going to be low-scoring games. So I do see Minnesota and Atlanta having a pretty much of a mediocre type of offense of day, and just Minnesota winning it in the field goal. You mentioned the kicker too, Jack. That's hilarious. They put him in a timeout too. Yeah, dude, you sit down for a couple games, dude, because you.
Wait, I didn't hear. What did you say?
I said the kicker for Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
He
Young Wei
got put in the timeout like Bryce Young did.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense. Either he's your kicker, or you cut him, or you move on from him. They're keeping him around in case their substitute kicker's not working out. I mean, and it's a roster spot, but let's see whether they know what they're doing. You know, we're criticizing the coach, Raheem Morris, in a way here. One thing we tend never to do, we talk about quarterbacks having a sophomore slump. What about all these coaches that are new to their team and in their second season as far as taking a step back? You know, even third season, they come in really, good their first year. Not that Raheem Morris is good this first year. He wasn't. But, a number of these coaches, like Eric Mangini with the Jets, he was called Mangenius. And, because he comes in and has a great first year. But it's a question of sustaining it as a coach, sustaining a culture. A guy like Bill Parcells did that. He'd come in, he'd turn the team around, and they would be competitive the whole time. I have faith in the Sean Payton. He's going to keep that up with the Denver Broncos. I'm not saying they'll win a Super Bowl, but they're going to be in the mix. They're going to be competitive, going forward all the years.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. You are who you are. I mean, or like the late Denny Green said, they are who we thought they were. Yes. So someone like Raheem Morris, he had one good season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it went all downhill from there. And so, I mean, he's probably better suited as a defensive coordinator. And so him coming to Atlanta, being the Saints fan, I wasn't moved by it. I was actually happy that he did become their head coach, because I just thought that he, with all that talent, and that's what's unfortunate. There is a lot of talent in Atlanta. And so let's reverse the roles. Had Sean Payton gone to Atlanta with all that talent, would they be better than what they are now? I think so. I think he would know exactly what to do with that talent and figure out offensively. Because
I just realized it this second, because we talked about, you mentioned Raheem Morris coming to Atlanta. The talk was that Bill Belichick was going to go to Atlanta. We didn't even mention Bill Belichick's name when we were talking college football. So, wow, has the novelty worn off? I just realized his name didn't even come up, and they won again. They're 2-1. Soft schedule for now, at least.
Oh, soft, man! It's Charmin soft right now. I mean,
that's
like
the
2 shitty
idea.
soft. Yes.
You keep them winning, so it creates a buzz for all our talk about Arch Manning and Shedeur Sanders. It's wow, we didn't even mention Bill Belichick's name. And we always mention Arch Manning and Shedeur Sanders in our shows.
Well, thank you, Jack. Now we just mentioned Bill Belichick. There you
Yeah.
go. Okay, so we got 2 Monday night games coming up. Double your pleasure, I guess. This doesn't count against what we're doing. We only do the Sunday games. But what are your views? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to the Houston Texans. We'll go through the same logic. Who do you think is going to win this game and why? Jack?
Yeah, I like the Buccaneers there. I know a lot of people think the Texans are going to bounce back after losing to the Rams. They're having some problems protecting C.J. Stroud, and the Buccaneers have a really good defensive front. They're going to be bringing it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised C.J. Stroud is sacked a number of times and is going to be on the run, and is going to be forced to be a playmaker, something he's capable of doing, but we'll see whether he gets that done. So I do like Tampa Bay in that game. Houston will score some points, but I could see a 26-20 game, Tampa Bay prevailing there.
What's your views on that, James?
I mean, I agree with the fact that the offensive line is shaky there, but you mentioned also that the defensive front for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is pretty stout. The opposite side definitely has a defensive front that's pretty stout as well. And I'd be interested to see how that running game is going to go against Houston's defense. Their defense is unreal. And I just think that
I don't want to hear unreal. I know they got guys like Will Anderson, etc. Let's not get carried away.
Daniil Hunter. No, it is unreal, Jack.
You can say really good if you want, but I don't want to hear.
They're more than really good. They're more than really good. Come on, Jack. Come on. I really think you just sit here and gave flowers to the front seven of Tampa Bay, and now you want to poo-poo on.
Real. I mean, they're excellent. I mean, I'll say they're excellent. Unreal means you're comparing them to the 85 Chicago Bears.
I knew you were going to say the 85 Chicago Bears. I'm not comparing them to them. I'm starting to predict, Jack. I know I'm starting to read his mind. I knew he was going to say that.
What was it, Baltimore Ravens?
Yes. I'm not putting them there just yet, but I think the Texans are going to win this game because they're deep. I think they have to bounce back. And they have the weapons. I think the running back position right now is maybe a little shaky but they got Dameon Pierce and they have also Nick Chubb. They're just missing Mixon. But still, I think they should bounce back and win this game at home.
You know what's good about their division? You could kind of afford a loss. If any teams in any division could afford a loss, it's in that division, early on.
Well, let me tell you this about Tampa Bay. I'm going to say that I think Tampa Bay is going to win this game. First thing you think about, Tristan Wirth is coming back. He may come back this game. So now you got 2 bookends at left tackle and right tackle because Gadecki's on the other side. Those 2 are the highest paid offensive linemen on that offensive line, basically in the league, So, I mean, in the whole league. So those guys, and they're tremendous. They're tremendous tackles too. Let's not get that twisted. I mean, going against Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter, that's a task in itself. But the Rams did a good job against that defensive line too. And I mean, it's right now the problem with Houston is their offensive line. Why they got rid of the players that they did on that offensive line in the offseason, I have no idea. I can't say it's cost-cutting reasons. I can't say it's because they weren't performing, because those guys are great. Tunsil was awesome on that line. And that's why CJ had such a productive, he didn't have the greatest year, but he did have a productive year. And their running game is non-existent from what I saw against the Rams. And the Rams' defenses, they're okay. I think they're on the same level maybe as Tampa Bay is. But you're forgetting that Tampa Bay has an offense too. I mean, they got Evans, they got the kid from Ohio State playing really well, by the way, and they got Baker Mayfield out there, and they got Irvin. Irvin's a great running back. So I mean, I think the laws of average are outweighing Houston here, and I like Houston too. I like Houston. I like it. I like their coach and everything. But until that offensive line shows me something, I can't outright here and say that Houston's going to win this game. It's just I just don't see it. Their offensive line is a liability right now. They can't run the ball very well. They're not protecting CJ very well. And he's not got that many targets to throw to. Remember, he's got Nico Collins and a couple of rookies, basically, and a tight end. The tight end's okay, but he doesn't have all the offensive weapons. He doesn't have Mixon. He's got Chubbs. Chubbs is just coming off of a injury again, and I mean he looks okay, but he didn't wow me in the first game. So we'll see what happens, but I think that Tampa Bay should win that one. The other Monday night game, which is a big game because it's an AFC West showdown once again, the LA Chargers are going to Las Vegas to play the Raiders. Who you got, Jack?
Yeah, I gave a little thought before I give you my pick. I'm talking about this game, but with Malik Neighbors, when the Giants had the issue to towel over his head, you know what I would have done if I were the Giants, the coach and the GM? I would have put in a call to Pete Carroll, okay, the Raider coach, and I would have said, I have a deal on the table, 1-for-1. Malik Neighbors, how would you like to have him? He would salivate, Pete Carroll, for Brock Bowers, even Steven deal. Giants get a future Hall of Fame tight end, and Raiders get a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Deal made, win-win for both teams as far as I'm concerned, because I would put my foot down, showing the discipline, how I could get rid of anyone. It would be, and you get a terrific play in Brock Bowers, so you wouldn't lose out in the long run there. The guy the Jets should have drafted, by the way, and I was loud and clear about it, and they didn't do it, even though Fashiono's a good player, who they drafted. Okay, I like the Chargers there. I'll take the stock in Jim Harbaugh. I don't like his personality. He's not one of my favorite people, to view, but he gets it done. He's revived Justin Herbert's career. Defense is playing hard and tough. They shut down Patrick Mahomes when they had to at the end of the game, the opening game. And Raiders have some nice pieces there. Okay, it's some very nice pieces, but I'll trust the Chargers more, especially on the defensive side of the ball, with all due respect to Max Crosby. So I like the Chargers there, something like 24-14.
What says you, James?
Yeah, so I'm going to echo everything Jack said, except not liking Jim Harbaugh. I like Jim Harbaugh. I think he might have a personality that you may not agree with a lot of things, but I think, again, winning cures all. And I think the Chargers are a lot better than what they were.
I don't like his personality. I like him.
I know. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging you on that. I just said I disagree with you. I like him. I think Jim Harbaugh is a winner. He knows how to win, and they're already doing it early on. I think the team is a lot better defensively, and I also think that he brought in his formula. You build up your offensive line, you run the ball, and he has a quarterback that can throw the ball. I think he knew that. That's why, like you said, mentioning going back to giving a vote of confidence for J.J. McCarthy during the draft, but he didn't select him because he knew what he had in the building with Justin Herbert. So I think that they win this game, and I like the moves that the Raiders have made. Las Vegas looks a lot better. They are better defensively, and they're better offensively with a few, but they're missing some things. They're still missing some key things. Not enough to go up against this team. Even at home, I still like the Chargers to go in there and win this game, and it might be by 2 touchdowns to me.
Could you answer me one thing? I was joking in the beginning of the show. the game, Las Vegas is hosting. After the fight last night, I mean, how do you get that field ready, to play ball? It seems like a matter of hours. These guys are working through the night to turn it from a boxing arena into a football field.
What I'd imagine, what the field itself was intact, and you're not having anybody running on the field. They obviously they're just moving chairs. They probably had a lot of manpower in place. I'm pretty sure somebody in the organization knew what they were doing, and the field should be ready. Unless and then let's see if Terrence Crawford and company are still there to watch the game.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the thing about that stadium is it's got a retractable field. So what they do is they put it outside, and when they have other events going on, and then they push it back in. It's like a natural grass turf that it's good for that climate, arid climate, because they can water it and all that stuff. They got all that, and they just sit it outside basically when they're not using it, and then they push it back in when the Raiders play. So it's not going to be that much of it. I mean, it does take some hours, and they're playing on Monday, so they got a whole day to get that stadium ready, and that's plenty of time for them to do. That's plenty of time for them to do what they got to do. Believe me, these people that work in the stadium, they've worked very hard to get things switched over when they have a stadium that has a lot of events that go on in it. So you got to give kudos to them because they get that stuff done just like that. In this game, I have the Chargers winning as well. I think that the Chargers had kind of showed you, and again, we're all going by week 1 games, okay? But they kind of came out there. They kind of, when you look at teams that are competing in the same division, like Green Bay against Detroit, they came out on fire. They came out and said, "Look, I don't care if you're a division winner. We're winning this division this year." Blah blah blah. Okay, they came out with purpose. That's what the Chargers did with Kansas City. They came out with purpose. They said, no, this stuff is going away, buddy. You're not going to be the king of this division for too much longer. Forget that." And I think that's what they're going to do with the Raiders too. It's the second division game in a row. They're playing really. Their defense is very underrated. Their defense gets a lot of turnovers. They get a lot of turnovers. They force a lot of turnovers. So that's what I like about the Chargers. They got really good underrated defense. I think the running back committee that they have right now is pretty decent. They have a pretty decent offensive line. Adding Keenan Allen to that mix, I think that put them way over. I think that put them in a division winner right there because the dude didn't miss a beat. If you watched him in that game against man, he was everywhere, and he was catching everything. He was more of a professional. I mean, I know Quentin Johnson got the kudos because he got those 2 touchdowns he managed to hold on to. But at the same time, Keenan Allen was just out there doing his thing. He was consistent, and he came out throwing something nobody expected to do either. So they kind of went off script, and I just what I like about them. He's there to win. Harbaugh's there to win. He's not there to be, shaking cookies at everybody. That's not what his job is. He's there to win. He's there to win that division. So I got the Chargers in that one. How did you guys feel about the Thursday night game with Green Bay and the Commanders? Do you think that Green Bay's defense is still the vaunted defense? Or do you think that Jaden Daniels didn't have a bad game? He had a pedestrian game. He just didn't. He wasn't really a difference maker. He didn't have any turnovers. He had 2 touchdowns and a pretty good rating, but he wasn't the guy. He didn't do Jaden Daniel things that he usually does to win the game. Is that the effect of the defense, or just maybe Washington's offense is not the greatest that you thought it was? Anybody on that one?
Terry McLaurin was holding out a while, and even though when he came back, he said he and Jaden Daniels won't miss a beat. It'll be perfect. They know one another, no problems at all. He was compromised a little bit. I picked the Packers to win the Super Bowl last year, not this year, last year. So maybe I'm a year late for all I know. Same thing happened to me a few years ago. I picked the Rams to win the Super Bowl the year before they won it, not the year they did win it. So that kind of hurts when you're a year late. You have a certain faith in a team, then they disappoint you, but they really turn out to be that good. After all, I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, I mean, the question that you posed with Washington's offense, you said it was one game. It's one game. Do we go on the big body of work last year, or do we look to see that Washington has any problems? There's certainly no panic in Washington. I mean, they're 1-1. What's the big deal? They didn't get blown out by the Packers. I'd be a little more concerned if I were the Lions, the way the offense functioned against the Packers for 1 week. A little more, but the Lions can rectify that situation today. They play a good game today. They put that behind them and just move forward. But these things sometimes snowball a little bit. And the question is Jaden Daniels that good after all? I mean, he's pretty good. We know that. But is he going to be a great quarterback in this league? Or is he going to be the second coming of C.J. Stroud, a perennial starter who can be a very good quarterback, but not a surefire, outstanding quarterback in the mold of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and of course, Patrick Mahomes?
I think Jaden Daniels is who he was, who he showed you who he was in his rookie season. I just think when I watched that game, I thought that Green Bay's defense was just a little bit better than that offense. And I think when I dissected some of the throws, his throws were on point. But there were past defenses, the guys, and you got to look at maybe some of the guys, Noah Brown, Zach Ertz played well. Terry looked like he's a little rusty. Debo, he is who he is. I mean, gave you 7 receptions, 44 yards, and a touchdown. I just think that defense looks really, really good. I don't know if they're great, but they're definitely good enough to help that offense. Look at Jordan Love and what he did. Jordan Love was able to put up 292 yards, and he averaged 9.4, per pass. That's a lot in the NFL. I mean, that's a lot in college, but that's really a lot in the NFL. 2 touchdowns, and they got good running out of Josh Jacobs. I know it's just 2 games, but the optics look a little different. Those are 2 teams that were in the playoffs last year, and they may both look like they were pedestrian. So I don't know. Green Bay might be on its run for this year, but we'll see. Again, it is 2 games, but to me, optically, I think Green Bay's defense look a little bit better. I think Washington's going to be fine. I think the Commanders are going to be fine in their division. And so I think the even in the same division is still of the North, NFC North. I think the Lions, Detroit will be fine as well. It's just maybe Green Bay, like you said, Jack, you might be a year too late.
Yeah, but you know what it is? We talk about quarterbacks who can run an offense, be game managers and playmakers. Call a quarterback a game manager. It sounds like you're insulting them. I don't mean it. Like a Jared Goff is a game manager who can make plays now and then, but he's not a playmaker. The great quarterbacks are playmakers. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, they make things happen. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, somewhat of a playmaker. Dak Prescott, somewhat of a playmaker. That's what Jaden Daniels might be, but sometimes we don't talk about it in reverse. A guy can be a great playmaker. Let me backtrack. Maybe Jaden Daniels is a great playmaker, but he might not be as effective of a game manager, but he just makes great plays. I mean, I know I'm talking.
I got to take that game. I got to stop you and take that game manager moniker away from Jared Goff. You don't throw for near 5,000 yards and carve up people with defense, carve up defenses, and be a game manager. I get what you're saying about being a playmaker, but not all quarterbacks are playmakers and they're still elite. I mean, there's a difference, when you be able to move your feet. I mean, sometimes if Jared Goff's situation has to be ideal, meaning his offensive line needs to be really good because he does have a tendency to get rattled when things happen, or in his face. But you got to think in the ideal situation, he's lighting you
Well,
up.
but the other quarterbacks, you put them in a similar situation. If you put Matthew Stafford in his prime, he's still good now, Matthew Stafford, and have him run the Lion offense, there's a difference between him and Jared Goff. Stafford's a little better. That's what I
But
mean. He's more
game
of a
managers though.
playmaker.
But I guess I have to look at the term game managers when players come in and you're playing the game not to win, but you're playing the game also not to lose. Those are game managers. Jared Goff plays to win, and so I think that you can't put that on him as a game manager. Maybe you mean it in a different way, but I just see it differently for that because I think he's just you have to put him in a tier. Maybe he's not in your first tier quarterbacks, but definitely to me, he's in first or second. He's in between first and second. So he's as far as quarterback when things are right. But he's not a game manager at all. He's more than that.
I feel game managers are the reason why we have game managers are the ones that stay in a pocket. Athletic and the ones that everybody, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, any of those quarterbacks that have mobility in the pocket, they're athletic. They can get the job done. It's not Jared's fault that he doesn't have any athleticism in the pocket. He's a quarterback. He is by definition what a quarterback is supposed to do: stay in the pocket, find targets. That's what he does. We're just getting so used to the new quarterback system where we want to pass the ball and then run for 200 yards. And that's good. That's fine. It does add dynamic to your offense. But at the same time, that's why Detroit's built the way they are. Remember a while back, somebody said, well, what happens if Lamar Jackson was on the Lions? I said, it wouldn't fit because that's not what their offense is about. Their offense is about fitting around Jared Goff. It's not fitting around Lamar Jackson. I'm not saying Lamar Jackson will come here and fail. He wouldn't come here and fail. He's just a dynamic athlete. But at the same time, I couldn't say, oh, they're going to the Super Bowl immediately. No, because that system of offense doesn't work around Lamar Jackson. And we were talking earlier about the offensive line for Baltimore. I said he makes that offensive line look well because he is the one that moves out of that pocket a lot. And thus he doesn't get sacked. So, when you do that and when you have that athleticism to do that, that makes your offensive line look really good. And where Jared Goff is just, hey, I'm back here. You better protect me because I'm looking for pinpoint accuracy. And he's just a purebred quarterback that way. And to a point, I wouldn't call him elite. But he is in the top. I would say he's a top 5 quarterback right now in the league because he's getting it done every year. So,
and an example of a game manager is the teams of the 2002, 2000, their quarterbacks. Brad Johnson, that's a game manager. Trent Dilfer, those are game managers. So Jared Goff is nowhere near. He's far better than those players.
Guys, does any one coach get fired today if their team loses? Mike McDaniel, everyone is looking towards him. Do you think he survives the year?
I don't think he survived, but he's not going to get fired after this game even if he loses it. They're going to give him enough rope to hang himself on. So probably 6 or 7, 8 games. If they don't have a winning record or not being competitive in that division, probably about their bye week. I don't even know when their bye. Isn't their bye week on a week 5 or something like that? I don't know when their bye week is, but anyway, so either their bye week or the halfway point of the season. I think that if he hasn't done anything or the team hasn't done anything to compete in that division, yeah, I'd see him going bye-bye.
And the Tyreek Hill situation, you wonder with Miami, they're holding on to him reportedly. They're not going to get any value in return. I mean, what at most they get, I see a 5th round draft pick at most. They probably get, it's like a throwaway. They'd be basically giving him away, I think. And could Tyreek Hill help another team? Absolutely. You can put him on the right team. He absolutely can be of value to another team. But with the Dolphins, it gets to be an ugly situation there, especially if their offense doesn't get on track today. And can you imagine they do go to Zach Wilson or Quinn Ewers at some point? Those guys wouldn't be wide receiver friendly. So it could get ugly in Miami.
It's already ugly in Miami. I mean, the best thing about Miami is probably the beaches. The football team is terrible right now. I just don't know what to say about, man, terrible. I got to give him Charles Barkley, terrible. So I don't know what to why not trade him. I guess if you don't trade,
Get nothing back, though. You'll get a
yeah,
sixth
but
round
to me,
draft pick.
You'll get something back for him.
they're not trading him because to me it tells me it's a sign that they think they still have an opportunity to right the ship. Because ultimately, from the optics, from us as the people who are viewing from the outside looking in, this is a dumpster fire. They need to just really let go. But you got, because they do. I guess you have Tua. Tua can throw the ball, but you don't have an offensive line that can help him stay upright, and you're not sure if he's going to stay healthy. At some point in the season, a concussion may come. I don't wish that on you, Tua. Just letting you know, just going off of what I've seen, and also they were receivers, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on the other side. I mean, they're supposed to be offensively, and then you have the genius of Mike, the coach. You thinking they're supposed to be doing something here, but there's dysfunction there. I mean, again, the wide receivers calling out. I mean, when he doesn't get his way, he's calling out either the quarterback, the coach. He wants to lead the team. This kind of echoes and reminds me of AB. Anthony Brown, excuse me, Antonio Brown. And, it just, what are you doing, man? When I guess he's under control when everything's good. But when things go the wrong way, he just gets emotional. He lets his true feeling come out, and they don't have any couth. They don't have any tact. They're not keeping anything in house. It just leaks
that's
in
hard,
out.
but it's hard. Like you look at the case of A.J. Brown on the Eagles. The Eagles beat the Cowboys opening game. So for A.J. Brown to complain would be out of line. He was quiet. It had to be killing him. What was he targeted one time or something in the game? Yeah, that's awful. And for a guy who fancies himself as arguably the best receiver in the NFL or one of the best, that's brutal.
I agree. It's wasting their time.
It is brutal to go through that. But what can he say? They won the game. He's got to keep it inside. Had they lost the game and he said something, it could have had a little validity because he could say, look, we could have won the game. I wish they targeted me more. We could have won the game, But as long as they win, you got to be quiet. And I know how much players want to win, but it's so hard to, not be a part of, the offense. It really is.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill, he's in a very unstable position right now. I know that Miami doesn't want to trade him, but they've had offers for him to be traded. And I'm kind of questioning the teams that are trying to trade for him too. I'm like, dude, do you guys not realize what kind of trouble he's in right now outside of football? And that's got to be messing with your head because you got, baby mama drama because you created it, basically. Wife troubles, should I say. But, I mean, 17 counts of domestic
But at least you know how desperate teams are.
Yeah.
And it also tells me that this is not an uncommon thing that just happens to be one of the best players it's leaking out. I'm pretty sure this is not an uncommon thing going around the league. So, they're used to that. That's dysfunction, unfortunately.
And ending on the note of dysfunction, we're going to be ending the show. Thank you for watching the Big Football Show. We'll be back on next Sunday, 8:00 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do catch Jack and Keith's show in the morning at 8. And, of course, Jack is going to be back with us 7 on Monday, p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Gloved Fist. So stay tuned, y'all. We got more good shows coming up. Everybody have a great football Sunday. Hope your team wins, as long as it's not against mine. Anyway, have a good one.